Hey NAI football fans, Corey Thorpe here with another edition of the NAIFBALL podcast powered by AdCraft USA, your custom apparel, merch, and uniform experts. Our friends at AdCraft have been with us for many years now. They've run web stores for us multiple times. These guys are NAI fans and family who are experts in the apparel and merchandise world. AdCraft allows you to take the hassle out of ordering. Let their knowledgeable design and customer service staff handle everything from hosting the store online, shipping the product, and helping your customers so you can get back to the game. Find them online at adcraftusa.com. All right, NAI football fans, this is Corey Thorpe back with another edition of the NAIF Ball podcast powered by AdCraft Custom Apparel and Merch. You just heard the ad read. They are still the GOATs. I don't know if y'all saw the picture that we posted of the two getting it there, Dan and the man they call Junior. Those are the OGs. Those are the best. And we are so thankful for them and what they have done for us. You see, I've got Matt back with me. We're going to waste no time because, Matt, when I was setting out the schedule for the off season, my brain just went, oh, KCAC, there's 1 week. It should be 2. We now have 2 divisions.
Yeah,
we'll get to that at the end, but this is going to be a long podcast. So I apologize to those who are going to be listening to this while driving and are like, oh, 20, 30 minutes. Nah, this is going to be an hour long one, easy. So
hope you're on a road trip.
Yeah, this is perfect road trip fodder.
Yeah.
First up are the team who has changed their name, I think, for the worst at the bottom, and that's the Bethany Terrible Swedes. They really need to put the terrible back in there. It's so much better.
Is that a recent change?
No, it's been that way for a while, but I feel like they just wanted to not be anti-Swedish. But when your logo looks like an IKEA sign, you're not going to be able to get away from that. Also, you're a bottom 5 team in the nation, unfortunately, and so terrible applies in multiple contexts there.
Yeah, really rough go for them. They have no all-conference players returning. They have wide receiver Brock Burnett leaving them, who was a 500-yard, 4-touchdown receiver. Nothing to scoff at. Still pretty good stat line. They do have a lot of people coming back, and I feel like with a lot of these bottom teams, I think every episode we've mentioned it, like at the very least, you go 0-10, stats don't like you. There's a lot of bad stuff going on from last season, but like you have nowhere to go but up, truthfully. And the stats would back it up. They're 97th right now, in SP Plus out of 99 teams. It doesn't get much worse than that, but they do have their quarterbacks returning, the leader there, which is good to establish themselves. Alec, I'm not even going to try to pronounce Gear. You know how to say Alec's last name?
Garagosian.
Garagosian. There it is. I'll let Corey do the difficult pronunciations. That's his specialty. He's returning, though, which is huge for them, position leader. And then Dimitri Tony is also coming back for the wide receivers. So there's still some pieces to work with there. They also do have a new head coach. What do you know about those details, Corey?
So Mike Grossner is coming back stateside, had coached overseas in Europe previously, and before that was at Baker and is one of their winningest head coaches, put in a lot of work. Last year's interim head coach, Vincent Grigsby, is still coaching the offensive line. And this is definitely, what they're saying is this is the last freshman-heavy roster that they should have since COVID just threw their roster for a loop. So this might be we might start to see some, I hate to say signs of life, but you might see a little bit of life out of these Swedes. Continuity is a big deal for a bottom feeder program. That can give you some juice.
Totally. And I think it's it's a lot to work with. New successful head coach. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of changes in how they operate, how they do things. I'm excited to see them. There's a lot of cool stuff that can happen when you're in a period of transition like this. So,
And Bethany's got such a storied history as a
oh
football
yeah,
program. I mean, they've beaten Oklahoma.
yeah,
I mean, yes, the year started with 18, but you beat Oklahoma. You've
that's
got you've
that's a
got that
pretty
history.
yeah, that's a pretty good thing to hang your hat on. I know the joke at Wesleyan was always that we played LSU in 1939 and lost by 73. So, call us Vandy. We're in it.
Heck yeah, probably just about as good as Vandy was. Um, Next up team that could probably beat Vandy, and that would be the Sterling Warriors, the new look Sterling Warriors with that new look logo. Got rid of the
Yeah.
shield. Now we're on the offensive for Sterling. I kind of dig it.
As a graphic designer, as a logo sicko enthusiast, I love this logo. It looks super clean, and it's literally just a turned angle of their old one with the shield. Like it's the same looking knight. It's styled the same, and I can appreciate that they didn't go super minimalist with it. Like I feel like is a trend nowadays to just like cut out a lot of detail because it looks slick or whatever. So I think it looks good. I think it boasts some new potential for them. They obviously looking at SP Plus, like their offense was really really good, and it kind of doesn't make sense how they only won 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, I double and triple check those numbers. 3.69 yards per play does not typically equate with the 16th best offense in the nation, but I maybe you had a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, and also defense probably doesn't help looking at
No.
that SP plus number of
Yeah.
90th at 5.44 yards per play. Not great. I still find it hard to believe that with that high powered of an offense, you're losing that many games. But didn't I didn't get the chance to really watch them last year, so I don't know. Maybe they just had a lot of bad luck. Still kind of wild.
And no all KCAC until you hit honorable mention, which we don't include honorable mention in what we do just for our counting purposes. We go with first and second team, so that's I mean, so really all you've got is the fact that you return nearly all your offense and a majority of your defense. Um, and I'm interested to see if that can if that can make anything for you. You bring back your quarterback Daniel Jackson, your leading running back Ryan Stuckey, your leading wide receiver David Timmons, Flinders Cameron on your defensive line, Hunter Pullen on your linebackers, and Devin Davis Rogers in your defensive backfield. You're primed for a nice run there, but
Yeah, and I think too, because they played Midland like a season or two
yes,
ago,
last year I
and they were
think
in.
no,
Was it last year?
maybe it was the year before.
I know they played them recently because I remember when we played Midland, we watched film of that game. And Sterling is a team, from what I've seen, that they fight really well and they're scrappy and they get after you and they're competitive. It's very much a case of the coin just isn't falling the way you want it to a lot of the time. And that was a Midland team they played that was in and out of the rankings. Like all metrics were top 25 for
Mm-hmm.
them. Like that's a good squad, and they took it to them. It's very impressive. It just again, record doesn't show everything. So hopefully they can kind of get that back, that coin flipping back on their side.
Well, our next team has won a national championship in football. In fact, 3 in a row, but it's the women, not the men. The Ottawa Braves, the back-to-back-to-back flag football national champs. Um, Maybe the Sauer sisters can help there. That high-powered offense with look anytime your quarterback can throw like 74 touchdowns through the air, you got
Yeah.
something going there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, now Nick Davis. This is going to be his second year for Ottawa, so you've got a chance to get in a little bit and influence your team there. And you had a good offense last year. It's just defense that let you down a little bit.
Yeah, they do have one of those pieces on defense returning though. AJ Hemphill, who had 120 tackles. Holy cow, that's that's pretty impressive. Definitely one of the staples on that defense that can kind of get them going, get that defense turned around. You do lose running back Jared Daniels, who was a huge piece of what you did on offense last year. And also Devin Johnston, who was with 47 tackles to his name and 2 interceptions, was a key part of that defense. But they do return a lot of that defense, like I said, with AJ leading the way for them. So that's good. Offense, kind of don't know what to expect, though. There's a lot of turnover, pretty much besides the quarterbacks. There's not a lot there for them next year. They're going to have to rely on new guys.
Yeah, trying to pull up our conversation there. Their top 2 quarterbacks are back, that's good. Looking at what we had chatted about, they played a lot of guys last year. Is what they said. So that really can kind of help you get an idea of what you've got there between Isaac Gibson and Rowdy Keith and Caden Kerr. Rushing, you've got Derek Curtis and Dalen Johnson coming back. That's about 800, 900 yards between those two. They have all 5 offensive linemen back. That's a big deal.
It's huge. Yeah.
And so you're going to definitely, to me, you're going to have a team that's looking up if you're bringing back all 5 offensive linemen. That is a key thing. We don't normally get to bring it up because there's no stats kept for offensive linemen for the NAIA, so I don't get a chance to see their stats. But anytime a coach says, hey, we got all 5 coming back, or hey, we got 4 of our 5 coming back, you're probably going to be all right.
Yeah. And I think they'll, skill position wise, like I'm sure they have guys in the wings, they recruit pretty decently most of the time from what I've seen. They get good guys in there. I don't know. It's kind of hard. I don't really know what to expect from them this upcoming season. I think that defense is going to get a lot better. How much better? We don't know because they were last year, but obviously you return enough for it to be notable.
I mean, this is a team that about 20 years ago was winning the KCAC. Of course, one of their coordinators' names was Steve Ryan when they were doing that, but they were winning the KCAC.
Decently successful guy.
Yeah, might have had some success in other places. Next up is St. Mary, the Spires. I'm still, the KCAC has some of the weirdest nicknames that you're going to find. We started out with the Swedes, and now we're to the Spires. We're going to get Blue Jays. We're going to get Valor. We're going to get Mound Builders and Threshers. The KCAC has more than their fair share of weird and awesome nicknames.
I think awesome.
And I'm so here for it. St. Mary.
Love it.
That's a good season for them. 4-7, and they're almost at that parity mark where your offensive yards per play and your defensive yards per play are equal. So I don't know. There might be something going on there.
They're climbing up with that trajectory. They have a lot of good stuff going on. Obviously, because they a couple seasons ago were not
great. Not great, Jim.
So they have a lot to work off of. And they're also returning Landon Beecham on the defensive side of the ball. Defensive back with 19 tackles, 5 interceptions. That's a playmaker for you. That's a difference maker right there. Good to have back. They do lose Chindu. Nwandike. And linebacker Hennessy Thomas.
That one you can read, but not Chindu Nwadike.
Yeah. I mean, Hennessy, it reads easier, rolls off the tongue a bit better.
Some say it goes down a little easier too, but
it goes down, it goes down a little easier. I was trying to make that joke. I couldn't quite connect it. So thank you for lobbing me that.
welcome.
But those players, like, pretty big pieces. Tennessee had 118 tackles, like, hard to replace a guy like that. But they do return most of their defense, and they'll probably have guys in the wings for that. Their offense returns pretty much everybody. Their leader on every position group comes back. Eric Covington, Raymond Webster, Josh Walker, all super important pieces that are coming back for them.
Yeah, and they've pretty much, they're stocked for next year.
Yeah.
There's no surprises for them. Their roster is who their roster is. They know who they've got. This is a team that I really think you might see make a nice jump.
I think so too. I think they have enough coming back, and they have really, they're improving every year the past few years. They've been getting a bit better, a bit better. They're kind of just on the brink. I know what it feels like to be a 4-7, 4-5 team that's on the brink, and I think they can make the jump. It's frustrating when you're not able to, but this team is loaded for success. I think all signs point to them, I would say, having a winning record next year. I can pretty confidently say that.
Now, next is a team that, look, if John Cooper had to have a favorite team other than his own Faulkner Eagles, it's got to be the Tabor Blue Jays. I swear, every time we talk about the KCAC, my man John brings up the Tabor Blue Jays. You're approaching middle in the KCAC. You've got a 500 record here. Not a bad season for Tabor, but not exactly what they're looking to do long term.
Yeah, a pretty historically good program too, even in recent years. I want to say either last year or the year before, were receiving votes at one point for the top 25. Usually a very competitive squad. Just couldn't. I mean, obviously they did put it together. They had a winning record, 500 in conference. That defense really stout, and you have Courtney Craig and Wyatt Lepke coming back, who are key pieces in that, which is huge. They don't have any all-conference guys leaving either, which is really huge. I'm big on this team going into next season, just with their roster outlook, truthfully.
Yeah, you've got the one thing you've got to really do and get a hold of is your quarterback. Of only like a few. When I say a few, you're probably talking about 1 in 3 quarterbacks are returning, and it's probably not the top guy. But most of your wide receivers return. So whoever you've got slinging the rock, you're going to have a lot of returning wide receiver production, which is generally actually a better predictor of offensive success than a returning quarterback, which is weird to say, but the statistics bear it out. And then you return a majority of your defense. And, we've talked about that defense, and think this bodes well for Tabor.
I think so. And like you said, those wide receivers, super important to have those guys back. Jared Goff exists, which is all the evidence I need to know that quarterback is important, but having the pieces around the quarterback is much more important. So
now
I'm high on it. Truthfully, I'm.
You want to talk about a team where the pieces may be more important than the quarterback. That is perhaps nowhere better stated than for the Friends Falcons. The triple option flex bone squad, getting it a second year with Coach Terry Harrison now in the program. Friends coming out of the cellar, now approaching that middle of the pack point here, approaching that 500 record. And man, this is a coach whose teams at Bethel were consistently top 10 offense. So to see a 77th there, that's not sticking around for long.
Oh, no, not at all. This is a really good team. Don't let the name fool you. Really good on the defensive side of the ball. Pretty mean, nasty unit, if I'm being completely honest. They do have, on the offensive side of the ball, Zach Dressler, an all-conference fullback, coming back. Love seeing that position tag by that name.
A little bit of a
And
misnomer there, honestly. That's probably an A
yeah,
back.
yeah. I mean, triple option. It's all just kind of thrown out the window when it comes to
Are you a
convention.
really big running back? Well, then you're a fullback. You see
They also have, yeah.
Zach Dressler. Just think Chance Scurry from Bethel. That's the kind of position you're looking at, honestly. And Zach, I'm so sorry, I forgot the A in your name. It's staring at me, and now I can't unsee it.
We know it's there, Zach. It's okay. Also, Noah Redcorn coming back, first team all conference lineman. That's huge for them. On the defensive side of the ball, they do have one of their defensive leaders, Nolan, Ewing, not coming back, but that's kind of the only big piece you're not returning. Pretty much all your offense is coming back, and most of your defense is coming back, with that DB room being the only thing of note, really. This is another team poised. A lot of these middle field teams in this conference are set up for something big.
And we're going to take a look at how that's going to impact the top portion of the KCAC here after this message from our friends at AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today, and let's bring your merch to life.
Going to say, they're trusted not only by NAIAFBALL, as they've outfitted us several times, but the head coach, John Cooper himself, is going with AdCraft to outfit his high school. And let me tell you, in terms of value return there, John's not at a high school that has money running out its ears. He's still going with AdCraft. The value return for them is extremely high. They do a fantastic job, and you should definitely check them out to outfit your team, whether it is on the field or in the business world. Well,
those Iowa folk know how to do it, huh? Get it done.
They do a fantastic job. You know who else has been getting it done lately, and it has been on our radar for a few years? That's the McPherson Bulldogs, 5-5 in the KCAC last year. And crack you up with these.
These segues are just killing me. God, absolutely just killing me.
I try my best. They may be corny, but you can't spell corny without Cory.
Ooh, there you go.
But McPherson has been quietly just improving year after year. And we've been told for many years now, watch out, the Bulldogs will bite. And we're really starting to see the fruit coming up from McPherson. And
yeah,
I mean, 37th overall. You're talking about a team that, in a year or two could be challenging for an at-large bid.
No, honestly, it's not crazy to think that. They are really, really stout on the defensive side of the ball, being 32nd in SP Plus with 3.89 yards per play. The only pieces, I mean, they don't even have any pieces on their defense leaving. They're all returning. You have defensive line, Talon Garland of note, who had 41 tackles, bunch of sacks, bunch of tackles for loss coming back. This defense is only going to get better, and they're already really, really good. And offense wins games, defense wins championships. Like, they are poised and set up, I think, even next season to make a run at the top. Truthfully, I believe that. I can talk about that probably a bit more at the end of the show. But yeah, they bring all that defense back. Most of their offense comes back too.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard for me to call McPherson, and I'll go ahead and reveal a part of my hand. I can't call McPherson a dark horse anymore. There's been too much smoke there out of McPherson to be able to call them a dark horse anymore. Last year, they were my dark horse. I feel like folks were sleeping on them. I don't think anyone's sleeping on the Bulldogs anymore.
Record watchers might.
Record watchers might,
I
but
don't know.
oh man,
Yeah.
they played so many good games that if they look a little bit more consistency, getting better next year, McPherson really could make a run here if some of the top teams decide that they're not going to play up to a high standard next year.
And this was a team, too, that lost by 1 point to Southwestern, lost by 2 points to Kansas Wesleyan. They lost by 1 point to Bethel, 1 point to Tabor. The only game they got that wasn't super close was against Avila at the end of the year. And Avila obviously was really good at the end of the season. Like, this was a team that was 1 or 2 plays away in like 4 games from being an 8-9 win team. Like, it
You
is
do that.
insane how close they are.
If they would have done that, they probably would have supplanted Southwestern for that at-large spot.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't overlook McPherson. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah.
I tell you, who else you can't overlook because they're brand spanking new is Evangel.
Yeah.
I have to quit calling them the Crusaders. Apparently, that's not what we do anymore. They are now the Evangel Valor.
It's kind of sick. I dig that.
I do like the horse. The horse is pretty awesome.
Yeah, the horse is cool. Valor's a pretty sick name too.
That is. I mean, it's kind of.
It's not classic. I get it.
No, it's kind of new school, but
yeah,
I don't know. I kind of like it.
I like it too. Yeah.
Coming in from the Heart South, giving the KCAC that 12th team so they can split into the 2 divisions and get 2 onto the auto bid side of this. This is big for the KCAC. They've been moving this way for a while. This is a really, really good move for the KCAC. And we talked about the Heart, especially the South, having to replace Evangel with Missouri Baptist. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think in this trade, I honestly think the KCAC is getting the best end of this deal between the KCAC, the Heart South, in the Mid-States, where the Mid-States is kind of losing a couple folks and having to reshuffle their divisions. The KCAC is the clear winner here.
Yeah. I mean, you bring in a top 25 defense and a 7-3 team from last year. Like, it's a win for everybody. You get better games on the schedule, better wins, better losses for these teams that have a lot of, at the end of the year, the KCAC has like 2, 3, 4 teams vying for playoff spots. Like, it's absolutely insane.
This is
and Evangel's
not
no exception.
This is not your daddy's KCAC. This is not the this is not the KCAC that you can sleep on anymore. That their teams are a bunch of slappies. The KCAC over the last 5 years has improved the most out of any conference in the NAIA, and it's not even close.
Well, and I remember hearing stories from Coach Simple. There used to be a GPAC KCAC like crossover, and it was pretty regular, like beyond 5 years ago, that the GPAC was sweeping those games most times.
Mm-hmm. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
The KCAC's come to play, and
Yeah.
getting Evangel in is a big part of kind of completing that master plan because Evangel has
God, look at that list.
they littered the Heart South. I mean, look,
Yeah.
this is a division with Benedictine in it, and you still have this many.
It's mind-boggling. I'm not even gonna try to read off all those names. There's too many, but you still return a good chunk of your offense back. You're returning most of your defense, and all the guys that are of note are up there on the screen for audio listeners. We have a running back, a first team all conference wide receiver, kick returner, Dylan Hester coming back, a guy on each side of the trenches, linebacker, D-line, punter. Special teams matters. Love our special teamers.
You know, and the one that gets me, you got a guy who's fast and shifty with the last name of Hester, You better bet I'm putting him on return. I don't know if he
Yeah.
is any relation to Devin Hester, but
Dylan Devin, I mean, it's close.
it's a
I kind of hope
possibility.
so.
I really would hope so. That would be a really cool tie there, but you do lose a couple pieces on defense. 2 first-teamers in Will Anawai and Anthony Levirafan. Those are big pieces. Levirafan had 7 picks last year. Anawai had 14 tackles for loss and 6 sacks. That's a big deal. And you bring back most of that defense. The problem is that you return about half of that offense that wasn't great a year ago.
Yeah. Definitely something to note for them. But I think they still have enough pieces back, truthfully. And I also have bad news for you about Dylan. I don't think he's related to Devin Hester. And there's no information I have besides looking at the kid. It's pretty clear difference there.
That's a shame. That's a
Yeah.
shame. Sometimes the
So,
differences are apparent, are they not?
yeah, about as apparent as you can get. So, still love Dylan. He's electric. So, you know.
Next up is we continue our run through the weird nicknames, and I think this one's my favorite. Honestly, growing up a Florida State fan, I'm a sucker for a live mascot.
Mhm.
And Southwestern has Jinx the cat who lives in the field house.
They have a actual cat.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Is it like house cat type of cat?
Yeah.
Are we talking like
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It's house
Okay.
cat.
I for a second I was thinking, do we have like a panther on campus? Is that what we have? That'd be sick.
That would be sick, but no, it's just a house cat whose name is Jinx. Yeah, Southwestern's got such a great history with the mound builders. RCFB has a great piece hidden somewhere on the website about Southwestern and the mound builders and how that nickname came to pass. Great article. You should go look it up. Great folks over there at RCFB on Reddit. But somewhere along the way, they picked up Jinx the cat as a mascot. I think it was a rivalry game. Cat ran on the field. They end up coming back and winning the game. Isn't that how all these awesome traditions start, is with a comeback win? This was a good squad last year.
Really good squad. Holy cow.
And
Like,
I mean, the fact that I can fit these on one graphic really, I feel like it downplays it. We talked with the folks over there early in the year, early in the off season, and they've just, you also are returning Thomas Yam, who for a couple of years Southwestern has had like 3 quarterbacks between Brad Cagle, Luke Barnes, and Thomas Yam. I know Kansas Wesleyan, for one, is sure glad to see Brad Cagle leave. But all 3 of them got significant playing time last year. Yam was right there with them, almost a 55% passer. He's coming back. Samara Hunter had almost 350 yards at running back. Keyshawn Jones over 400 yards at wide receiver. Cameron Cornelius with 6 tackles for a loss and a pick. You've got a lot of players who aren't on this list that are coming back, and I feel like this could still be a place where you could see it's a do or die year for Southwestern. If you can do well with a roster that has some good pieces leaving, then you've kind of cemented yourself. But there's also a chance that you can completely fall back into the midfield.
Yep.
So,
this is where, the development piece of it is super important. Like, who do you have in the wings? Who has gotten game experience? Who knows what's going on? Who doesn't? And I don't know, in the transfer portal is a whole different story. Like, the NAIA doesn't have one, but you still got guys moving around. Like, who knows? I'm definitely all eyes on this team going into next season. They are the one with probably the most question marks, I would say, at least out of the top teams in this conference.
There's another one I think that has a lot of question marks as well, but this is where we talk about some of those midfield squads.
Yeah.
Maybe having a place up at the big kids table and challenging for a spot in the playoffs if a couple of these top teams fall back a little bit. Obviously, you're bringing back Josh Carter and Shane Rodriguez on your defense that are first teamers. You're bringing back Martez Jones, who was just electric with a kick return touchdown. Josh Edson with four touchdown snags. But this is definitely a do or die year for Southwestern. If you can do well here, then you've cemented your place at the top. If you fall back, then we just say it's the KCAC eating itself, and it's part of the development of the league.
It all ties back to the Pac-12. I can't escape it, Corey. They all eat each other alive. I can't do this.
That's okay because they're trash anyway.
Be nice.
The Pac-12.
Come on. Be nice. And I think we should also point out, this was a team last year that was 15 in SP+. We still have 3 teams left to talk about.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's insane.
That's the crazy part about this is you had 3 legitimate teams that could have won the division, and you've got one team that's up here in the top 15 that wasn't even in the conversation for the division just due to record.
Mm-hmm.
That's
insane stuff.
That's insane. I say it again and again. This is the development of the KCAC has been so visible and so singular among the NAIA. It's been amazing to watch and incredible to see the ascent of a conference who really decided, you know what, guys, we're going to play football and we're going to play really good.
Mm-hmm.
Next up are Nightmare Fuel personified. If you've ever seen Threshy the Thresher, should have worn my Threshy shirt tonight.
I was not prepared for you to talk about that. I'm not going to lie to you. It kind of came out of left field.
Look, anytime I can talk about Threshy, I'm going to talk about Threshy. I'm going to see if I can throw it up on the screen. It's terrifying. There's no other way to explain it as then you have to see it to believe it. Got the tattoo.
Funny.
Got the tattoo over the eye of the wheat. The threshers for arms and the thresher for a head, dude. That thing is. That's such nightmare fuel. I mean, I can't even. But that's the kind of mascot you want. You don't have you don't want a mascot that's like a dog, like a collie. Sorry, Texas A&M. You don't want a collie. Like collies are awesome, but they're very friendly. Do you want something that's going to give your opponents nightmares? And that does.
And their offense did last year too. I mean,
nicely played.
That because I forget they're ground and pound offense. Yeah,
they've gone. They have come into the 21st century. They only threw the ball 150 times last year, but they do it out of the shotgun, which is still pretty cool. I can dig. DJ Sears was a great piece for them last year. We were kind of concerned with their quarterback leaving from a couple years ago. Who was going to be there to pick up the pieces? DJ Sears has been there and has been a great dual threat quarterback. He's just got to reduce the interceptions. He had 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions last year. Really, if you're going to do well or better as an offense, you'd be looking to get that down to about 2 if you were going to have 9, 10 touchdowns. So, but that being said, your team's leading rusher, but you've also got Cassius McCray there behind you, 2 all-conference linemen coming back. But you'll lose a couple big pieces on defenses or between your offense and defense, and these are kind of pieces where the whole is a little greater than the sum of the parts there, because it's Chance Scurry and Josh Seabolt, and those two have been Bethel mainstays for as long as we've been covering this. To see them leave kind of is a kind of milestone for us, seeing kind of the last of the really big folks leave for Bethel.
Yeah, this is also a program, though, that develops really well. Like, I know a bit of insight. I kind of sort of know about their O-line coach, who I forget the name of, so it shows you how much I actually know. I mean, offensively, they cycle through players a decent amount, and they're all just so solid, and they work so well together. That's why their offense is so good. They can throw any lineman out there at any time, and they will know what they're doing, and they will make it work, which is why I think even with the pieces you have leaving, like Keegan Martin on that offensive line is a big part, I think they'll be good. I'm not worried about them. I'm truthfully not.
Yeah, I mean, you return most of your offense, and it's year 2 of a newish system. Flexbone versus a spread option. There's going to be some differences in how you call things, some differences in verbiage and vocabulary, and now you're really going to settle into it. And that's really scary for a team that was a top 10 offense a year ago. You return a majority of your defense. This is a team that definitely. Oh, and you got left out of the playoffs last year by the slimmest of margins, and you lost one game. And so you're playing with a big old honking chip on your shoulder. This is a team that is going to it's going to be out for blood, and they don't care who they're going to thresh along with that wheat.
And they already play an FU style of football. If I am in this conference, I am getting out of their way, truthfully, because my God, this team's going to be a raging monster, raging machine, I guess would be
that is true.
A better term for a thresher. But yeah, holy cow.
Yeah, the revenge tour for Bethel is upcoming, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
Next up is kind of a newcomer to the scene of the top half of the KCAC, and it's not a team that historically has been a good team. Not even great, good. And that is Avila, the Kansas City team, coming out and doing good. They do have a new head coach, Derek Alexander, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs there. I got to say, like I said I don't remember if this made the public part of the podcast with Coach Alexander or not, but when I saw NFL star Derek Alexander, new head coach of Avila, my brain went to Florida State's Derek Alexander, and I was kind of disappointed when it wasn't. Very disappointed.
I can imagine.
But it's a nice pickup coming back to Avila. With their head coach going over to William Penn, this is to me the biggest set of question marks in the KCAC. You mentioned yours earlier, but I think this one is mine, because not only are you losing, the players that we've noted here, between Malik Nesbitt, who's a 1,000-yard rusher last year, Nick Furlow, Melvin Reed, Andrew Williams. You lose some big pieces there, but you also lose Joey Mars and LD Garner, who were KCAC honorable mention guys last year. You lose those to William Penn. They go with
Yeah.
head coach Benavidez over there. And so how is this gonna play out? I mean, it's iffy.
There's just a lot of new. I will say the pieces are there. They're clearly a very talented team. They bring back most of their defense, which was their better side of the ball last year. Really stout unit. I think there's enough to work with for this Avila team to still be in contention. Offensively, I have no idea. I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea how it's gonna look. And Avila's just been, I don't know, the past few seasons they've just been strange to follow, and I can't think of why they just have been.
Yeah. No, I get that. Now, here's another strange thing. We've talked about both teams that made the playoffs from the KCAC, Southwestern and Avila. We've talked about the team that barely missed it in Bethel. You know, we haven't talked about are the recent OGs of the KCAC. Any at all? The godfathers of the KCAC, Kansas Wesleyan, who with an 8-3 record manages to be number 10 in SP Plus on the back of a killer defense.
I feel like the way last season went in this conference, like whoever wrote the script was on acid. Like,
you're not wrong.
There was like ties and teams beating each other, and Kansas Wesleyan deciding, hey, we're going to make everything more problematic than it needs to be by winning these games down the stretch. And I mean, what more can you say about Kansas Wesleyan, though, besides like they're always good. They always have guys. They're always going to be in contention. And I think going into next season, that's no exception. They have 2 all-conference running backs coming back. They have their wide receiver, punt returner specialist, Driven Mackin. Do you say that
probably Macon.
differently?
Probably Macon.
Yeah, he's coming back. He's really good. First team all-conference punter Miguel Milan coming back. I mean, send it, ship it. They're winning the Natty. If you have first team all-conference punter, that's all I care about. That's it in my book.
You know, and this is the thing. You got a second year head coach, and you still had this. You had a little bit of I don't know if you were behind schedule with the first year head coach losing 3 games, but you got a lot of folks that are leaving between Jake Balderrama and Jaron Hightower on your offensive line, Cole Parker, who a forced fumble, an interception, 3 pass breakups. Andrew Sorensen, 4 PBUs. Had 7 PBUs between 2 defensive linemen. That's a good defense right there when your DBs or your D linemen are getting their hands up in the passing lanes. That helps every time. And man, this is such a team that returns a lot on either side, but I feel like that almost is a feature, not a bug, because now you can bring in some of your own guys and slot in where you need them.
Yeah. I think the only position group of note that would be you're plugging a lot of new pieces into is that defensive line.
Yeah.
Obviously, with those 2 all-conference guys leaving, that's a big piece of your defense. It all starts in the trenches, right? But I don't know. Their edge is obviously fine. It's just that interior you're really going to have to worry about. And I don't know. I don't think there's enough on paper for me to be worried about with this roster. It's Kansas Wesleyan. Like, that's just all you really need to say.
Yeah, no, that's 100% the truth, and I think you're going to see K-Dub bounce back a little bit here. But let's talk about the divisions, because this makes life a little bit more difficult, and I've done a little bit of the math here. So they actually did a fairly good job of splitting these up. I didn't think at first that they did. But going through and reassessing where they are, they actually did a fairly good job. So the KCAC on the whole has an average SP plus of 46.6 and a standard deviation of 24.723, which is really good, actually. Anything that's on the lower side of 20 is pretty close together. The Kissinger division has an average SP plus, had an average SP plus last year of 42.8 with a standard deviation of 28.71. The Bissell division had an average SP plus of 50.3 with a standard deviation of 28.3. Now, why is the standard deviation of the overall 24 and the one for each division 28? Why does that not work like an average? I don't know. I write for a living. I look up online calculators and hope to God that some nerd somewhere has gotten the calculation right.
Yeah, I can't validate that for you. I Twitter and Photoshop for a living, so I'm probably worse than you in this one.
What that does tell me is that while the overall slotting of these teams within the SP Plus is relatively close, bang, 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 the overall is a little bit further off. But when you divided these into two, that you're going to have, if you do your job right by definition, you're going to have some teams that are on the top, some teams on the bottom, and some teams in the middle. And you've got to do that within each of these. I don't see one division right now with the way that these are that are overwhelmingly better than the other.
Yeah, these are really solid divisions. And also the name divisions instead of directional, I kind of dig that.
Kissinger and Bissell are both legendary head coaches within their within the KCAC. I'm going to see if I can find the stuff now. I can't right off the top of my head, but they're both legendary coaches. I can't remember where both of them was. I think one was Kansas Wesleyan. I can't remember where the other one was, but that's well done. I wish more. Look, I wish the Big Ten would take notice of that because Big Ten can't quite figure out how to do directional. The legends and whatever the heck it was that they had at one time, just bonkers. But that means we have to pick 4 teams, both a winner and a dark horse for each division now, because I didn't plan ahead appropriately. Sorry, guys. And we're starting the Kissinger division, and I also just forgot to put in all the animations, so you're just going to get everything. Look at John being a weirdo here with Friends.
Friends. I like that pick.
My man believes in the flex bone so strongly that he's going to put Friends there.
That's so sickos of him.
That's
so
lovely.
Sickos of him. I love him for that.
It's great. But I mean, honestly, Bethel is a really, to me, it's the strong pick here. You've got so much coming back, and you're on the revenge tour.
Yeah. I think Bethel wins the whole conference, just as a note.
I don't know if they're doing a conference championship, like a straight conference
championship. Are they not? Is it just like one in each, and then they like pick a winner? Or
well, remember now that you're in now that you're in 2 divisions, you get an auto bid from each division.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's the glory of that 12th team. So you're not doing a conference championship, although I sort of wish they would, because that'd be an almighty great game.
Yeah.
But I think our dark horses are pretty straightforward here. McPherson is definitely, they got them dogs in them.
They certainly do.
Had to break that out.
Yeah. You're really proud of yourself for that one, aren't you?
Been thinking about that one for months. On the other side of things, I think we all agree Kansas Wesleyan gets back to their winning ways atop the KCAC. I think last year was just a blip, and they'll reclaim their crown.
Yeah.
But man, nobody knows really. Nobody really thinks to what I'm seeing here. I don't know that anybody believes in Ottawa reestablishing themselves here, and if they are, they wouldn't be a dark horse anyway.
Yeah.
But
I don't. It's hard for me because I feel like any three of these teams could be your runner-up or challenging Kansas Wesleyan, or all four of these teams could just be beating the crap out of each other all season.
Yeah.
I just, it's a matter of like who. I mean, this is probably more subjective than anything. Like, who do you think has on paper the advantage? And it just is a matter of what you value in a roster build, what you value and all that. Like, I could see any three of these teams being the one to challenge Kansas Wesleyan.
now I will say on the Kissinger side, I did 100% debate putting Evangel there for a good minute. But look, St. Mary bringing back all their offense on an offense that was 67th, and the majority of their defense on a defense that was 54th, almost achieving parity. I think you might have something there that maybe they're not winning the division, but maybe they start to give teams a hard time.
I was more on the side of Tabor because they had a winning record, and I think that roster knows how to win a bit more than the other two. It was more of a vibes pick, so like, do I really know what I'm talking about? Probably not. But that's just, going with your gut. That's kind of what you have to do when the middle field of this side of the conference looks the way it does for next season.
That's true. And then John with that OU pick.
Flag football bias?
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, they definitely will improve this year. How much they'll improve, I don't know. But that is to say, the midfield of the Bissell division is really it's going to be mixed up. I don't think you'll get two. I don't think you're going to get two teams out of this side of the division. I think it's just going to be one. If you're going to get two out of any side, it's going to be the Kissinger side with possibly if Southwestern doesn't live up to it, you might see McPherson alongside Bethel. But if Southwestern comes back to play, now that you've got a 20-team playoff, you've got a little bit more room to play with for second teams in the KCAC.
Totally. Yeah.
So going from the champions of the KCAC to our champions, our patrons, and we've got a new one that we've added to the list, Jason Crawford. Love it. Coming on board. You'll love to see it. These are our this is our cheering section. These are the guys that make sure that we are able to keep doing what we do best. We absolutely adore our business partners, and they allow us to travel. But these guys pay the bills, and that makes them the goats in my mind. And so we have for you DSU Cone, Kyle Gregory, Darren, Tyler Pierce, Bob Boone, Justin Hoffman, Roger Meyer, Steve Speakman, Jeremy Vobble, Brian Shake, Shirley Labella, Julianne Shager, Fred Christensen, Nate Soapbeer, Jerry Quickle, Julie Loud, Ace Wellen, Tim Burrow, Marty Seabolt. That is probably a KCAC right there on Marty Seabolt. Just thinking maybe that's a little bit of Bethel connection there. Dale Norton, Justin Cobb, Nathan Moore, Nick Ryan, Jason Crawford, and Hayden Ferrigno. Join us next week as we go to the South. And by the South, we mean the state of Kentucky. As as we preview the Mid-South and all of its Kentuckian bluegrass glory. The old bluegrass division of the Mid-South Conference. Got some good squads there that are going to be really good again. We'll see just how good they can hang on, but it's going to be a whale of a conference next year. But I promised you it'd probably be over an hour. You're probably about right at it. So, for Matt Schwartzler, I'm Corey Thorpe, and we will see y'all on the Twitter timeline.
Later.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the NAIAFBALL podcast presented by AdCraft USA. Be sure to contact them for all your custom apparel, merch, and uniform needs. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to the podcast as well as to our YouTube channel. Leave us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. As always, if you'd like to support what we do, head over to patreon.com/NAIAFBALL and become a patron. We can't do what we do without our sponsors and listeners like you.